How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, March 15th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the elite performances and matchups from yesterday, Sunday, March 14th. And of course, I'm going to preview the elite performances and matchups for today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. With the NFL season being over as of February and the MLB season not starting for another month, I'm just going to get it started with the NBA season just to give a sense of where the NBA is standing with the teams that have been playing so far. Starting in Oklahoma City, the Oklahoma City Thunder hosted the Memphis Grizzlies, and in this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder would beat the Memphis Grizzlies 128-122 after outscoring the Grizzlies by 16 points in the fourth quarter. And in this matchup, they would pick up their 17th win as well. For the Memphis Grizzlies in this matchup, their leading scorer will be their elite starting point guard, John Morant, who finished with 22 points and 7 assists in 34 minutes as he shot 7 for 15 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, their starting power forward, Aleksej Pokusevski. Sorry if I butchered your name, but this is the first time I've ever mentioned him. He would end up playing 39 minutes for the Thunder. He would finish with 23 points and 10 rebounds in 39 minutes as Pokusevski finished shooting 7 for 13 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. And the leading scorer for the Oklahoma City Thunder would be their starting shooting guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out of Kentucky, who finished with 30 points and 5 assists as well as 5 turnovers in 34 minutes as he shot 8 for 17 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and 10 for 11 from the foul line. With this win, the Oklahoma City Thunder are officially 17-22. That ties them with the New Orleans Pelicans for the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference. They are currently sitting 4 games out of the playoff picture at the moment behind the 8th place Dallas Mavericks and the 7th place San Antonio Spurs for that matter. They've won 6 of their last 10, and they sit 11.5 games out of the playoff picture. With this loss, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 17-18. That is the 10th best record in the Western Conference. They currently sit 2 games out of the playoff picture. They've lost their last 2 games. They've lost 6 of their last 10, and they sit 9.5 games behind the first place Utah Jazz out west. Jumping out to Oakland, the Golden State Warriors hosted the Utah Jazz, and in this matchup, the Warriors would beat the Jazz 131-119. As of course, Steph Curry was able to get a very big win on his 33rd birthday, so of course a big game for him. But for the Utah Jazz in this matchup, their starting point guard Mike Conley would finish with 23 points and 6 assists in 32 minutes as he shot 8 for 15 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. Off the bench for the Jazz, their point guard Jordan Clarkson would finish with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in 25 minutes as he shot 9 for 23 from the field and 3 for 8 from 3. Their elite starting center, Rudy Gobert, would tie for the team high as he finished with 24 points, 28 rebounds, 2 steals, and 4 blocks in 32 minutes as he shot 8 for 10 from the field and 8 for 10 from the free throw line. And the tie for him for the team high in points would be their elite starting shooting guard, Donovan Mitchell, who finished with 24 points and 4 assists in 36 minutes as he shot 7 for 18 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 6 for 8 from the foul line. For the Golden State Warriors in this matchup, their starting small forward out of Kansas, Andrew Wiggins, would finish with 28 points and 3 steals in 38 minutes as he shot 12 for 16 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 1 for 1 from the foul line. Their future Hall of Fame power forward, Draymond Green, would finish with 11 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists, and 4 steals in 36 minutes as he shot 5 for 10 from the field. And the leading scorer for the Golden State Warriors would be their goated starting point guard, Stephen Curry, who finished with 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists in 36 minutes as he shot 10 for 20 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, the Golden State Warriors are now 20-19. That is the ninth best record in the Western Conference. They sit a game outside of the playoff picture behind the 7th place San Antonio Spurs and the 8th place Dallas Mavericks. They've won 4 of their last 10 as a team, and they sit 8.5 games out or behind the first place Utah Jazz. And with this loss, the Utah Jazz are now 28-10. They are the last team in the NBA to eclipse a double-digit amount of losses this season, and they currently sit 2.5 games ahead of the second place Phoenix Suns, as the Utah Jazz have lost 5 of their last 10 as a team, but they still sit on top of the West pretty comfortably. Jumping out to Philadelphia, the Philadelphia 76ers host the San Antonio Spurs, and in this game, the 76ers would beat the Spurs 134-99, especially after outscoring San Antonio by 11 in the first quarter, and they outscored San Antonio by 25 in the third, outscoring them 46-21. For the San Antonio Spurs in this matchup, their leading scorers, or their leading scorer off the bench, would be their power forward, Drew Eubanks, who finished with 17 points in 24 minutes, as he would also finish with 9 rebounds and 2 blocks in those 24 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field and 5 for 7 from the foul line. And then tied for him for the team high in points would be their point guard, Devin White, who finished with 17 points and 2 steals as well as 4 blocks in 25 minutes, as he shot 4 for 11 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the foul line. For the Philadelphia 76ers in this matchup, their starting shooting guard Seth Curry would finish with 21 points in 26 minutes, shooting 9 for 16 from the field and 3 for 6 from the three-point line. Their elite starting point guard, Ben Simmons, would finish with 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 9 assists in 26 minutes, as he shot 6 for 9 from the field and 2 for 5 from the free throw line. And the leading scorer for the Philadelphia 76ers last night would be their starting power forward, Tobias Harris, who finished with 23 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 29 minutes, as he shot 10 for 18 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Philadelphia 76ers are now 27-12. That is the best record in the Eastern Conference. In the playoff picture, they now sit 1 game ahead of the second-place Brooklyn Nets. They've won their last 5 games. They've won 8 of their last 10, just to give a sense of where they sit in the Eastern Conference. With this loss, the San Antonio Spurs are now 19-16. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference at the moment. In the playoff picture, they sit alongside the 8th place Dallas Mavericks. They sit a game behind the 5th place Denver Nuggets and the 6th place Trailblazers. They sit a game and a half behind them. And they also sit 1 game ahead of the 9th place Golden State Warriors, as the Spurs have now lost 5 of their last 10. They sit 7.5 games behind the Utah Jazz out in the Western Conference. Jumping out to Atlanta, the Atlanta Hawks hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers and were able to pull up a 100-82 win after outscoring the Cleveland Cavaliers by 15 points in the fourth quarter and able to pick up their 19th win of the season. For the Cleveland Cavaliers in this matchup, their leading scorer will be their starting point guard, Colin Sexton, who's originally from the city of Atlanta. He finished with 15 points in 29 minutes, shooting 5 for 17 from the field and 4 for 6 from the foul line. For the Atlanta Hawks, their starting power forward, Danilo Gallinari, would finish with 20 points on the night, as he also had 5 rebounds in 28 minutes, shooting 5 for 12 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 7 for 7 from the line. Their elite starting point guard, Trae Young, would finish with 14 points, 2 rebounds, and 6 assists in 28 minutes, as he shot 4 for 9 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. And the leading scorer for the Atlanta Hawks will be their starting power forward out of Wake Forest, John Collins, who finished with 22 points and 12 rebounds in 31 minutes, as he shot 8 for 17 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 19-20. That is the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference. In the playoff picture, they currently sit a game behind the 6th place Charlotte Hornets and the 7th place New York Knicks, and they currently sit 1 game ahead of the 9th place Indiana Pacers and the 10th place Chicago Bulls, who are on the outside looking in. As the Atlanta Hawks have won their last 5 games, they've won 7 of their last 10, and they are sitting 8 full games behind the first place 76ers. And then with this loss, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 14-24. That is the third worst record in the Eastern Conference. They sit 4.5 games behind the 8th place Atlanta Hawks. That's outside of the Eastern Conference looking in. They've lost their last 3 games. They've lost 6 of their last 10, and they are now 12.5 games behind the first place 76ers in the Eastern Conference. Jumping out to Orlando, the Orlando Magic took on their their in-state rivals, the Miami Heat, the reigning Eastern Conference champions. And in this matchup, the Heat would beat the Magic 102-97, especially after outscoring Orlando by 9 points in the fourth quarter. For the Orlando Magic in this matchup, off the bench, their shooting guard Terrence Ross would finish with 31 points and 5 rebounds in 34 minutes as he shot 10 for 19 from the field, 8 for 13 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. And the leading scorer for the Orlando Magic would be their starting center, their 2-time All-Star Nikola Vucevic, who finished with 38 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists, as well as 7 turnovers in 38 minutes, as he shot 15 for 27 from the field, 6 for 13 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. And then for the Miami Heat in this game, off the bench, their point guard Tyler Hero would finish with 22 points and 8 rebounds in 29 minutes, as he shot 8 for 16 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. And then the leading scorer for the Miami Heat would be their elite starting small forward, Jimmy Butler, who finished with 29 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and 5 steals in 36 minutes, as he shot 10 for 17 from the field and 9 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the Miami Heat are now 21-18. That is the fourth best record in the Eastern Conference. In the playoff picture, they now sit 3.5 games behind the third place Milwaukee Bucks, and they now sit half a game ahead of the 5th place Boston Celtics. And they have won their last 4 games. They've won 9 of their last 10, and they now sit 6 full games behind the first place Philadelphia 76ers out east. And with this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 13-26. That is the second worst record in the Eastern Conference. They now currently sit 6 full games outside of the playoff picture behind the 8th place Atlanta Hawks. They've lost their last 8 games. They've lost 8 of their last 10. And they sit 14 full games behind the first place Philadelphia 76ers out east. Jumping out to Houston, the Houston Rockets hosted the Boston Celtics. And in this matchup, the Boston Celtics would beat the Houston Rockets 134-107, especially after outscoring Houston by 9 points in the second quarter and by 19 points in the third. For the Houston Rockets in this matchup, of course, they would continue to extend their league-long losing streak, but continuing on. Off the bench for the Houston Rockets, their small forward, Kenyon Martin Jr. would finish with 21 points in the short time that he played in the game, or in the 31 minutes that he played, as he shot 6 for 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line, as he was also able to add 2 steals along with his 21 points. And the leading scorer for the Houston Rockets would be their starting shooting guard, Victor Oladipo, out of Indiana, who finished with 26 points and 6 rebounds in 31 minutes, as he shot 9 for 23 from the field, 3 for 10 from 3, and 5 for 8 from the foul line. For the Boston Celtics in this matchup, their elite starting point guard, Kemba Walker, would finish with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in 26 minutes, as he shot 4 for 11 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the line. Their elite starting small forward, Jason Tatum, would finish with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in 28 minutes, as he shot 9 for 17 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. And the leading scorer for the Boston Celtics would be their starting shooting guard, Jaylen Brown, who finished with 24 points in 27 minutes, shooting 9 for 14 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the Boston Celtics are now 20-18. That is the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference. In the playoff picture, they now sit half a game behind the 4th place Miami Heat, and they now sit half a game ahead of the 6th place Charlotte Hornets and the 7th place New York Knicks in the playoff picture. They've won 6 of their last 10 games, and they sit 6.5 games behind the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers in the East. And with this loss, the Houston Rockets are now 11-26, as they have the second worst record in the Western Conference. They have lost their last 16 games, which is the worst streak in the NBA, the worst streak that we've kind of seen in a bit. And continuing on, they are currently sitting 9 games behind the 8th place Dallas Mavericks and the 7th place San Antonio Spurs in the playoff picture. And they sit 16.5 games behind the 1st place Utah Jazz in the Western Conference, just to give a sense of where the Rockets are with their loss. Jumping out to Minneapolis, the Minnesota Timberwolves hosted the Portland Trailblazers, and in this matchup, the Minnesota Timberwolves would beat the Portland Trailblazers 114-112. And in this matchup, the Trailblazers would end up getting bested they ended up getting bested by the Timberwolves really in the third quarter, where they got outscored by 6 points. It was really kind of a back and forth game, but the Timberwolves were able to earn their 9th win of the season. For the Trailblazers in this matchup, their starting shooting guard out of Duke, Gary Trent Jr., would finish with 21 points and 2 steals in 34 minutes, as he shot 6 for 14 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. And the leading scorer for the Portland Trailblazers last night would be their elite starting point guard, Damian Lillard, who finished with 38 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists, as well as 5 turnovers in 37 minutes, as he shot 12 for 21 from the field, 6 for 13 from 3, and 8 for 9 from the foul line. For the Minnesota Timberwolves in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their number 1 overall pick, Anthony Edwards, who would finish with 34 points in 37 minutes, as he shot 12 for 24 from the field, 6 for 14 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. And additionally, alongside him in the starting lineup, their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns, would finish with